Hey, Sox fans, it was a nail biter, but the White Sox beat Seattle in the home opener. How was your game day experience, and want to get you ready for game two of the series with Seattle?
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On White Sox. Thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen each and every day. We're free and available on all platforms. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Sox. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search Locked On White Sox. Hey, I'm your host, Nick Morawski, a lifelong diehard Chicago White Sox fan. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTB, recording this podcast just blocks from the ballpark in beautiful Bridgeport. Really appreciate you letting me steal some of your time to talk White Sox. Locked On White Sox is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Wow, what a game. What a home opener. I want to talk about Wednesday's matchup, though, with Seattle. Going to discuss my home opener experience. But let's first talk about this big Tuesday win as we break down the numbers. State of the Sox. The Sox are 3-1. My voice is hoarse, which is going to happen quite a bit this season as I record. It was a great game, tense down to the last out. Sox over Seattle, 3-2. The Sox are 2 games over 500. That did not happen last season until the 20th game. 36,000 plus in attendance. Saw Liam Hendriks get that final out. Was surprised that we're not maybe around 39,000, 40,000, but we'll talk a little bit more on that when I discuss my home opener experience. Let's break down the game, shall we? Vince Velasquez, he was your starter for the White Sox. He went 4 innings, gave up 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 strikeouts, 3 walks. 62 pitches were thrown. He really could have gone longer. This start is not going to be remembered as a particularly sharp or amazing outing for Velasquez, but he was effective. He had some problems with his breaking stuff, could not really get that over. And, he had the 3 walks there, but he did get out of some jams when he needed it. And like I said, he only threw 62 pitches. So, I think he could have gone out for a 5th, but it had to have been some sort of program, a plan that Tony La Russa and the organization wanted. And it was achieved by Velasquez. And then they went to the bullpen, Sousa, Lopez, Bummer, Graveman, before finally getting to Hendriks. All was good with Sousa, Lopez, Bummer, and Graveman. But Hendriks, once again, having some problems. Heart attack Hendriks. He was in for an inning, gave up 3 hits, 1 earned run, but had 3 strikeouts. So there's the heart attack Hendriks for you. He struggled. Hendriks could not establish his slider or curveball. And it just seemed like the Mariners were just waiting for that fastball. And they did enough with those, especially with, the lack of command. They did enough to make things very uneasy for Sox fans. It was not pretty, but Hendriks was ultimately, effective, and he got the job done. Some outstanding defense in the game from Robert Jimenez. Yes, that's right, Jimenez in left field, and even Anderson. I mean, they weren't extremely difficult plays, but some of the ground balls that Anderson had to field, they were coming at him pretty fast, and his footwork has definitely improved over the years. And whether he was making a throw to second or making a throw, obviously, to first to Abreu, he was tested at shortstop, but it was really the plays by Jimenez up against the wall, and then Robert closing the gap and making making a catch. He crashed into the wall out in center field. Both were fine, thank goodness. It was really Robert was on display in this home opener, and here's a guy that a lot of people are excited for this season. He is up there in MVP conversations. A guy that I've mentioned, and I'm sure you have with other Sox fans in your life, a guy that you cannot wait to get to the ballpark to watch. And sure enough, we talked about his defense. He made some plays out in center. He showed off his power. He hit a laser beam home run. I mean, he was 1 for 3 in the game, but he had 2 extremely hard hit balls. He hit a laser beam out in left center. And this came after an at bat where he lined out to Crawford at shortstop. And I have not been able to find the exit velocity. It's, I'm sure, out there, but it was one of the hardest hit balls I have seen at a game. And Crawford didn't have to move. And if he would have had to move, there's no way he was getting that line drive. So, Robert comes up and it's the same pitcher on the mound for the Mariners. And Robert just absolutely smothered that ball. Explosive power. And then Robert shows off his speed in the 8th. He gets on, steals 2 bases, steals second base, and steals third. And he really puts himself in just an outstanding spot to score on a ground ball that was hit by Jimenez to short that wasn't fielded cleanly. And that ended up being a huge insurance run. The Sox do not get that insurance run in the 8th if Robert does not steal those bases. So you saw the power, you saw the speed, and you saw the defense from Robert today. And, this is a bit of a theme here for this White Sox team early on. They're taking advantage. They're using their speed. They're stealing bases. They're getting an extra base, whether it be the base running or just flat out stealing to put themselves in opportunities to scrape a couple runs across the home plate. And today in this home opener is one of those games where we weren't out slugging. We weren't thumping the Mariners. We just did enough to win the game. Reese McGuire was behind the plate. He had 2 hits. Vaughn was not in the lineup, assuming that was because there was a right-hand pitcher on the hill. Disappointing not to see Vaughn in the lineup. But speaking of that Seattle right-hand pitcher, Matt Brash was very good for the Mariners. He was making his MLB debut. He gave you 5 1/3 innings pitched, 6 strikeouts, a walk, 2 earned runs. He threw 85 pitches. In years past, when the Sox have seen a pitcher that they've never seen before, they usually make that pitcher look like a Cy Young candidate. Brash pitched well, but the Sox were swinging the bat and they put the ball in play, forced the Mariners to make some mistakes. Sox had 3 runs on 6 hits, 0 errors. Engel was used late in the game for a defensive substitution for Sheets, who was playing in right, as was Garcia. He was a defensive substitution for Eloy in left late in the game. It was nice to see that being used. Mendick came in late to play second base while Garcia went out to left field. It was absolutely tense at times, but the Sox did enough to get that win as they now sit 3-1. Did you make it out to the game? Maybe you saw some of the similar things that I experienced. We'll talk more on that in a moment. This is the time of year when most people have given up on their New Year's resolutions, but not me. I'm sticking to my resolution of eating right thanks to Built Bar. Have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, they're not just a protein bar. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. Yes, Puffs included, 100% real chocolate. Low calorie, high protein. Replace your candy bars with these. A typical candy bar can be anywhere from 200 to 300 calories. Go to built.com. You'll be blown away. High protein, low cal, high fiber, low carb. Most Built bars contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. At Built Bar, they're all about the taste. They make it taste delicious first, then figure out how to make it healthy. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15, that's LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen every day. Locked On MLB Prospects host Lindsey Crosby is a prospect encyclopedia, and he's going deep on the MLB stars of tomorrow. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Folks, the home opener is such a special time. I was walking my dog by the stadium early this morning. I'm just a couple blocks away, and there were cars lined up already at 8:30 in the morning to get into Lot B to start tailgating. What an absolutely gorgeous day! I have sat through games in 30-degree temps. There were flurries. There was a rain snow mix. There again, I've sat through multiple rain delays. I've sat in the stadium for hours and then it finally getting canceled. It's been a long time since we've had a day like this with temps in the 60s. I was wearing shorts. I wore shorts to the game, shorts to the home opener. I'd never in my wildest dreams thought that was going to happen. Maybe because of course, it's a later home opener. It was supposed to originally be March 31st. And here we are, a home opener, April 12th. I had some folks, some family and friends come on over to my place. We did some food and snacks and drinks and threw some bags and just a beautiful day to be outdoors. Then started making the walk over around 2:00. Again, it was a 3:10 first pitch. Made the walk over, and it's a fun walk. You're walking down 35th Street East, and lots were absolutely packed. All lots. People having a great time. Got into the stadium without an issue. Got my pennant. First 20,000 got their AL 2021 AL Central Division Champs pennant. Had to get the tickets scanned in again. If you've been to games lately, especially last year, if you're sitting in the 100 level, you get in, you scan, get your ticket scanned, and then you walk up the stairs or the escalator, and you go into it's around section 1. I was going into gate 5, so that's section 146, 147. Well, you have to get your ticket scanned once again to enter the 100 level. And that has been a problem last year, especially. The lines were extremely long. You just sat through one line to get in, and now there's another line right away. It wasn't too much of a problem for me, but I could sense that folks waited a little bit closer to the 3:10 first pitch. I bet you there was a log jam. I bet you it was a lot. It was a big issue. We can talk a little bit more about that in a second. We were in our seats, though, just in time to see Harold Baines throw out the first pitch to Bo Jackson. If you were following some of the Harold Baines news recently, White Sox put out a video and kind of explained some of the health problems and scares that Harold Baines has had over the last year or so. And just an amazing story. It was great to see him on hand. Throwing out the first pitch to Bo Jackson. Actually, before I got into the seats, I did a lap around the park just to kind of, scope things out, kind of get an idea of where some of the new food items are that we discussed. And the Goose is definitely gone in right field, but the Red Line rail car bar is still there. Not a lot of changes, except for, maybe some signage and, logos and things change here and there. The big thing though that I noticed, and if you've been to the park and you've seen out in center field, you can't miss it. The large wrought iron, the black light structures, they have banners on them, and they're 4 towers out there in the outfield. And they had, a World Series banner. They had a banner for AL championships and division titles. And then I think there was just a White Sox banner. Well, those banners are gone. All of the recognition of division championships, World Series, and AL pennants, those banners have been removed. And instead, those pennants, those division titles, and the World Series titles, they are now painted on brick pillars out in left field. Kind of odd. The placement is very strange. They are not in a prominent spot at all. You wouldn't even really notice them if you weren't looking. I'm hoping that's just temporary. I hope that they put the World Series titles, the division titles, the AL pennants. I hope they recognize that in a more prominent way. Maybe they're still waiting to get those new banners made, but it was something that I noticed. Kind of tough to see the box score on the large scoreboard out in center field due to the fan deck from my seats. The box score is at the bottom of the Jumbotron. It was a little difficult to see the score, just kind of semantics there. Other than that, the ballpark looked great. Long lines for concessions and bathrooms, of course, but not sure how that's going to be figured out. It's really the price you pay for having a good team. I think it's also an issue of opening day, and I feel like Fridays, Saturdays, especially during the summer, are going to be like that as well. Hey, let's take a look at Wednesday's matchup with the Mariners and what the weather is looking like that. Going to get to it in just a moment. So Dallas Keuchel is facing off against Robbie Ray in Game 2 of this Sox-Mariners series. Couple lefties going at it. Wednesday forecast looks rough. Thunderstorms most of the day. Temps, however, in the high 60s. So, we'll see what happens. I'm not feeling good about this game getting in on time, that's for sure. This will be Dallas Keuchel's first start of the regular season here in 2022. Here are his 2021 numbers. He was 9-9, started 30 games through 162 innings, and had a 5.28 ERA. A lot of folks that I've talked to over the offseason, a lot of fans, both friends, family, there's a majority of folks that are thinking Dallas Keuchel is going to have a bounce back year. I was not impressed with his spring training numbers. And he, of course, was left off the ALDS roster. He had a rough year last year. He's admitted it. He's spoken up about it. Hey, that's great. It's great to recognize it, but he's got to make some changes on the hill. And all eyes will be on him, whether, the game does get in tonight, Wednesday night, or whenever his first start is. What fans will be watching. Velasquez was serviceable, nothing too flashy, but serviceable. Keuchel just needs to be serviceable, and then we'll let the bullpen do their thing. On the other hand, Robbie Ray is, pitching for the Mariners on Wednesday night. Ray won the AL Cy Young Award for the Blue Jays last season, signed with the Mariners in the offseason. He's a left-handed pitcher that the White Sox could have definitely afforded, but it was not meant to be. I think that could be a separate podcast. The White Sox and their inability to spend money on premium pitching. Anyway, Ray went 7 innings and got the win in his first outing of this season. He gave up only 1 run on 3 hits. Ray was 13-7 with a 2.84 ERA for the Blue Jays last season. Robbie Ray faced the White Sox twice last year. He went 11 1/3 innings, gave up 2 earned runs. He's tough. He is a tough pitcher. Obviously won the AL Cy Young for a reason. So it's going to be a challenge for the White Sox. We'll see if the game gets in, and we'll see if the offense can figure things out against Robbie Ray. Looking forward to to seeing more White Sox baseball. I'm hoping to be at the ballpark on Thursday, and I'm looking forward to getting out to the ballpark on Saturday. Saturday is going to be your first bobblehead giveaway. Liam Hendriks in that South Side gear. It's a shame that he's been pitching the way he has been, but I think he's going to bounce back. I think he's getting the job done. He obviously didn't do it opening day, and today was a little rough. He's gonna figure it out. He's too good of a reliever for anybody to be giving up on him. Nobody should be giving up and abandoning the Liam Hendriks ship. Not at all. I've got all the faith in the world in him. It's been nice to see our offense kind of, doing what they need to do to get some wins. Traditionally after a day off, the White Sox are flat. Sometimes you'll see a White Sox team get skunked or maybe score one run. Now, granted, they scored 3 here in this home opener, but they also only held the Mariners to 2, and it was really only 1 up until the 9th. So Sox sitting at 3-1. Hopefully this next game gets in. Really appreciate you listening. You can find the podcast everywhere you find your podcasts. Find us on Twitter and Instagram at Locked On Sox. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTB. Thanks for making Locked On White Sox your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On MLB. Paul Francis Sullivan, just call him Sully, brings you his unique perspective on the major leagues past and present. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Coming up on the next episode, we'll break down Game 2 between the Sox and the Mariners. I am Nick Morawski. Really appreciate you making Locked On White Sox a priority. Until next time, go Sox.